One of the things we've been trying to do here on Act TV is get people, regular human beings, who are specifically affected or have had their experience with, any of the different areas of the coronavirus. And Christopher is a small business owner. And in this moment of economic collapse, you would think that politicians across the political divide would be doing everything possible to support small businesses. Christopher has had an experience that proves that basically nothing could be further from the truth. He's a small business owner who recently tried to use some of his benefits of the recent stimulus package in order to keep his workers employed. He's here to tell us about being refused those funds and why his bank eventually overturned the policy that allowed them to turn him away. Chris, thanks for joining us today. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
So talk about the business that you were running before the pandemic. How many employees did you have, and what is it that you do?
All right, awesome. So I own a small creative agency based out of New York. We've been around for 5 years. We employ 15 designers across a variety of disciplines, and we really focus and cater our services to beauty. And we work with large beauty brands like Clinique, MAC, Estee Lauder, La Mer, to entrepreneurial brands that are coming up in the indie scene day in and day out. And the business has been built over the past 5 years being fiscally responsible. So prior to starting Schoolhouse, I always personally banked with Bank of America, had been a customer of theirs for 5 or 15 years. And then when I started the small business, I used
That was your first mistake.
Yeah. I know, it's mistake number one. So I extended my services with them and joined as a business savings account holder for 5 years, and have really grown this business into a multi-million-dollar business, really spending what we make. So we have not taken out loans. We've not applied for lines of credit because it's really always been my prerogative to not go into debt for my own small business until it was truly, truly necessary or needed, or we were wanting to go after larger initiatives. So,
so 15 people rely on you, and you've been fiscally solvent, no loans, and then hits the coronavirus, and what happened?
So, I mean, like every small business, everything has been changed. So, we have had longstanding relationships with many clients. Clients have rebriefed projects, have canceled projects, postponed projects. We've had, clients reach out to negotiate billing terms to net 60, net 90 days, which, to be very honest, we were happy to do. This is a long term strategy to be able to bounce back when it comes time to bounce back. Mm-hmm. In that process, we quickly moved everyone to work out of their homes in order to really make sure that we're protecting the safety of our employees, because really, as a service provider, our service is the talent of individuals. And so you can see that a virus that affects individuals is challenging for businesses that use the talent of people as their service. So it was really important that we allowed everyone to work from home or work from a place that they felt safe. We did not let anyone go in this process. One, because we had the cash in the bank. We've been very responsible growing this business, so it did not make sense. And we ran a variety of analyses to say, should we reduce everyone by 20%? Should we let highest paid employees go? And the runway that it provided did not warrant the cuts, knowing that the recruitment costs on the back end would be a challenge. So we retained every employee. We maintained their benefits. We continued to pay rent, even though we reached out to the landlord to ask for some relief, and knowing we couldn't occupy our office. So when the Paycheck Protection Program was signed as a part of the $2 trillion federal stimulus, to us, it made perfect sense. This was a way for us to maintain a sense of normalcy through the summer, so that we would be ready, prepared with our existing team to bounce back. And unfortunately, what happened was It was signed and then it went live a week later. Many banks were not prepared with the application program. Many banks today are still not prepared with the application program. Thankfully, Bank of America was the first large bank to go live. We went to submit our application, and what we learned was that they had put in eligibility requirements that completely put us to the sidelines, along with many other small businesses. And that requirement was you needed to have not just a business checking savings, but you also needed to have a prior business lending relationship with the bank as of February 15th. So even if you are willing to start that lending relationship and open a credit line or a credit card, you would still not be eligible for the funds. Um, what really spiraled from there was a variety of very confusing, very frustrating phone calls, email exchanges for a good 24 hours. It was clear that the bank had not armed their manpower in the field to be able to answer questions. I had, small business.
I want to make sure I know what the hell was going on from a
Yeah.
non-business owner perspective. So you were supposed to be able to go to the bank and get a line of credit or a loan in order to pay your employees who are
Yes.
working from home, still working, but under non-ideal circumstances. So
Yes, you
did you
were.
lose business, or the businesses that you're working for? Are you losing contracts? What's happening on that level?
Yeah, I mean, every contract has been changed, challenged, postponed, canceled, and we're continuing to pay our employees and staff appropriately because we don't, we have the cash to do that. And what was
Because you're
great,
not Amazon, you're not an asshole. No offense to.
yeah, we're not Amazon.
You actually
Um,
care about your employees. How novel in the American
yes. So
landscape.
we've tried to maintain a sense of normalcy for the well-being of all of our team members and our contractors. The great thing about the Paycheck Protection Program is that it is the one loan that is forgivable. So the loan becomes a grant if you continue to maintain your staff. So for someone that wants to continue to build and drive a business while being fiscally responsible and not incurring debt with an unforeseen future, it's a perfect program if you're allowed access to the funds.
Okay. So really, you should have been allowed access, but when you got to the bank, they were like, "We don't know. No."
Yeah, when I got to the bank, it was like we're trying to protect our existing lending customers. And what I was told in the
Oh,
first,
so because you hadn't taken out loans before,
yes, because we don't
they
have credit card
loan.
debt, we cannot access government funding. Is pretty at
Wow.
the bottom line what we were told.
Wow.
And
That's
so
that points a whole nother picture. I kind of thought the story was going to be about how the banks were just not prepared and how the programs were unaccessible. But this seems almost like you know, a handout to credit to banks who will, of course, credit isn't free, generally speaking.
right,
Very
right. And
interesting.
and and so the what was really frustrating is that I had conversations with employees at Bank of America that were giving me misinformation. This was being painted as, well, this is what the Treasury set up, or this is what the Small Business Administration had put in place, which was in fact not true.
It was
And
just what the
so,
bank was doing to protect their own lending because they make money off lending. They don't make money off giving you a grant that you basically may not have to pay back just because you do banking there, but not lending.
exactly. And
Yeah.
so it became, a true fireball in which all small businesses that were not allowed access began to speak out. Immediately, we were reaching out to, news outlets, myself included, posting on social media in terms of the story. And the eligibility requirements were then overturned 24 hours later by Bank of America. And you were then all small businesses at that point were allowed and are allowed access. The challenge doesn't stop there though,
How
because
did you get the bank to finally give you they gave it to you, right? At the end?
they gave it to me at the end. They gave it to everyone at the end. And I think because of the sheer amount of backlash that happened from all small businesses, myself included, And the fact that, phone lines were most likely clogged with all of us wondering and asking, why are you not giving us access? And to be honest, there was no real fair reason as to why. And I think that just was enough pressure that it allowed and forced them to open it up.
I am absolutely shocked. Not
I
really.
was
I'm just
absolutely
shocked that
shocked
they
as
turned
well.
around, because it seemed like President Trump, had they gone up and said, "Well, the president, doesn't think we need to do this, so we're fine with not doing it." I'm surprised that they actually turned around. Maybe they're hoping that, someday soon you will need a loan. That's
Yes,
probably my guess.
probably.
Yeah.
But I think that the challenge is beyond Bank of America. There are many banks that service small businesses that are still not accepting applications. And when I was sharing my story Friday, what I continuously heard back was, well, you have to find a local bank. You have to find a local small, community bank that will give you the loan that don't have these stipulations. The challenge is the SBA has not centralized any information for small businesses. What they have created is basically a Google Maps form that when you go in, it's like typing grocery store. 57,000 results come up. None of them are segmented by who's taking applications, what are the requirements. And so, as a small business, you're trying to maintain employees, you're trying to get access to funding, and every roadblock from a centralization and a local perspective is being put in your way for funding that really is meant to help keep us sane and in business and staff working and readily available for when business is back. So it's a local bank level issue, but it's also a centralization. The SBA has to have responsibility for setting the banks up properly so that the banks can then set up its customers properly. It continues to go up to the fact that no one wants to take a centralized leadership as a part of this overall crisis.
Oh, isn't that the truth on so many levels and so many areas? So
Yeah.
you were able to secure the loan, or hopefully grant.
Well, it's not as simple as that. Where I
Ah,
was
of course
able to,
not.
yeah, it's not as simple as, you've got the money in the bank. It's you were able to put in an application. And at this point, I received a confirmation of application 24 hours later. And I put this in on Saturday. Today is Wednesday morning, and now I finally received another formal application that has to be
Oh,
uploaded with documentation. So the previous application is now, I guess, I don't know where that's gone, but now there's another application. And then they review that application, and then that gets sent to the SBA for approval. Then it gets sent back to them. Then they get back to you. I mean, the process is so challenged. So I'm not sure how many small businesses are out there that can actually continue to bankroll their process and the time and length of time required for this process to actually retrieve the funds should they be approved. And God only knows what happens if you hear back and you haven't been approved or you've uploaded the misinformation or documentation. A lot of small
Meanwhile, the
banks.
Trump administration is touting what they've been doing for small business, the fact that Americans in the middle class are getting a check in the mail, and I haven't seen anything. No check. I haven't seen. Do you know other small businesses who have been able to actually access funds?
I have not heard of a small business receiving funds. I've heard of small businesses submitting applications. I have also heard of small businesses not able to submit applications as of today.
Mhm.
But the baton of responsibility continues to be passed down and down and down. And those that touch the baton tout the fact that they touched it and were a part of something that is supposed to be successful but has not been successful thus far.
We're talking with Christopher Skinner, founder and principal of the New York City based beauty creative agency named Schoolhouse. You can find the work that Christopher does at weareschoolhouse.com. Christopher, can you come back and let us know how it's going?
Of course, I'd be happy to give you updates as the story continues.
I really appreciate you being here with us and just letting us know what's happening from a small business perspective. We've had nurses coming on, EMS people, direct workers. We've had people from all over the place. So I'm very happy that you're live. And I'm sorry this is happening to you, and I wish you the best And I do want to commend you for having, actual concern for not only just your business, but your actual labor pool. It's sad that we have to do that. And that's not just an assumption, but looking at what other companies are doing, I think it's important.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Keep getting the stories out there. We need to continue to hear from people experiencing these things day in, day out, and stay healthy.
Thanks. Thank you so much. You too.
Thank you.
Bye
Bye.
bye.